Good evening. Welcome to the August 11th, 2021 regular meeting of the Governing Board of the Chandler Unified School District. Thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate it. And Mrs. Dye, could you start our meeting with our roll call, please?
Barb Marston.
Here.
Jason Fowler.
Here.
Laura Freeman.
Here.
Lindsay Love.
Lindsay Love.
Here.
Joel Work.
Here.
Thank you. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. We have a little bit of routine business to begin with. Our first is to approve the minutes of the July 14th, 2021 regular board meeting. Could I please get a motion?
Madam President, I move that we approve the minutes of the July 14th, 2021 regular board meeting.
A second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes of the July 14th, 2021 regular board meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, we have to approve and ratify payroll and accounts payable vouchers. Could I please get a motion?
Madam President, I move that we approve and ratify the payroll and accounts payable vouchers.
Second.
All those in favor of approving and ratifying the payroll and accounts payable vouchers, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Mr. Narducci, is there any correspondence this evening?
Madam President, there is not.
Thank you. I'm going to move just one section of our agenda up due to some time constraints, and I'm actually going to do our action item 7.01, resolution for calling for the naming of the Perry High School Gymnasium. And I believe that Mr. Fletcher is going to be, that's what's on my list. Mr. Narducci.
Do I see Serrano in the audience here? He's over there in the back. We thought we had you up front. And your wife Cindy's here too? Hi Cindy, how you doing? It's an absolute honor that I read a resolution to the governing board in honor of Mr. Dan Serrano and naming the gymnasium after Mr. Dan Serrano. Dan Serrano was born and raised in Kearney, Arizona, a small mining town east of the valley. He graduated a Bearcat from Ray High School in 1981 and subsequently earned both his bachelor's and master's degree from Northern Arizona University. He began his 36-year career in education as a fourth grade teacher and eventually transitioning to high school as a special education teacher and coach. Mr. Serrano served in various leadership roles before becoming the principal of Perry High School. He was the assistant principal athletic director at Yuma High School, the assistant principal athletic director, and eventually the principal of McClintock High School in Tempe, Arizona. In over 11 years at McClintock High, he became a mentor to teachers, aspiring administrators, and was a valued member of the community. Mr. Serrano became the principal of Perry High School in 2006 and immediately began laying a strong foundation for the future. Pride, progress, purpose, the motto of the school, is the essence of what guided him as he worked diligently to ensure students, staff, and faculty had the resources they needed to be successful. Mr. Serrano's door was always open, and he is known as a kind, compassionate leader who treats everyone with dignity and respect. Supporting students has always been of great importance to Mr. Serrano. As a prior coach and special education teacher, he was instrumental in initiating the Unified Sports Program at Perry High School, which to this day gives him much pride as it combined his love for sports with one of his favorite groups, our special education students. He found the special needs students a continual source of daily joy. Often, you could find Dan in classrooms or in lunchrooms chatting with students. He would share in their celebrations and often included himself in barbecues, pancakes, cookies, and ice cream parties with the kids. In addition to managing one of the largest high schools in the state of Arizona, Mr. Serrano is also an active member of his community. He served on the Arizona Interscholastic Association board for 2 terms, his first as a board member and the second term as vice president, and then the president. Mr. Serrano has been deservingly recognized for his work in education by the following organizations: Arizona Thespian Principal of the Year, Grand Canyon STEM Educator of the Month, City of Chandler's Chamber of Commerce Administrator of the Year, Sun Lakes Rotary Ruler of the Month, and most recently, the Arizona National Association of Secondary School Principals Principal of the Year. Mr. Serrano will confidently acknowledge he has found success in his career due to the strong support of his family and faith. He has been married to his wife, Cindy, for nearly 30 years. Together, they find happiness in the simple things in life. Their 4 children, Nick, DJ, Tanner, and Allie, all agree their father is the most reliable man they have ever met. They have thrived under his constant love and support. Family is and always has been first for Mr. Serrano. His deep love and affection for his tight-knit family is apparent in everything that he does. In appreciation for his remarkable contributions to Perry High School, the community, and Chandler Unified School District, it is with great pleasure that we officially name the gymnasium in his honor, the Dan Serrano Gymnasium. The gym is central to so many student activities: senior assembly, unified sports, our 8th grade open house, freshman orientation, and much, much more. As a leader who devoted so many hours and activities to this facility, it is only fitting that the gymnasium be named in his honor. As presented on August 11th, 2021 by Interim Superintendent Franklin Narducci and signed by governing board members. That's the end of the resolution. However, before I turn it over to you, Madam President, I'd like to personally say, while Dan and Cindy are in the room here, as well as our current principal, Heather Patterson, like so many other families, my daughter graduated from Perry 4 years ago. Invested in students' well-being is what she would say. Enjoyed your job, connected with students, all students. On a very large campus, that's hard to do. For a student to be able to say that, incredible. Put effort into making high school a great experience. Dan, that's what was noticed by many of the students that you touched. He led with grace, passion, and joy. These aren't my words. These are students that you've touched words. As a parent, thank you and your family, I know as Cindy's here tonight, for sharing you with us and your team. You have created an amazing pathway and successful transition to college and career for many students, but you did that for our daughter as well. I also recognize that Heather Patterson will continue on that tradition as she had been there for many years through the establishment of Perry, and so we thank you for that as well. Dan, before I turn this back over, I just want to give you a district's gratitude, and I want to give you family's gratitude for all the work you put in. I don't know if the public understands how much time principals, especially high school principals, leave their family and put into schools. But for one, I am appreciative. Thank you.
Before we get too far, we better get a motion on the table here to officially get the gymnasium named. Could I please get a motion from the board?
Madam President, I would like to propose a resolution calling for the naming of Perry High School Gymnasium in honor of Dan Serrano.
I'll second it.
I'll second.
Great. We have 2 seconds, Mrs. Nye. Okay. All those in favor of naming the Perry High School Gymnasium in honor of Dan Serrano, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is unanimous. Congratulations. And I assume you have a few words for us. Thank you.
Just a few. And if I'd have known I was liked that much, I probably would have stayed. Didn't realize that. I don't know who wrote that, but it was nice. Madam President and members of the board, my wife Cindy and my family are truly humbled and honored to have the gymnasium named after me. I was fortunate to be selected as Perry High School's first principal over 16 years ago by Dr. Castile. And Dr. Castile, her cabinet, and the current and former governing board members and many others at the district level provided me with the tools I needed to be successful and successfully open and run Perry High School. And many of the cabinet are up here that have been here with me the whole time, and I appreciate all the things that you've done, because anytime I asked for something, I usually got it. Dr. Castile, I know she told everyone, don't let that school fail and don't let him fail. So these people kept me afloat for the 15 years I was there, and I appreciate that. I'd also like to thank all the Perry High School staff, students, and the community for all that they have done to make Perry High School one of the better high schools in Arizona and the country. So again, thank you so much for this honor. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Love, there will be the resolution that you'll need to sign next time you come into the district office, just to let you know.
Thank you. I'll come in soon.
Madam President, if I could just also add to that, for those of you that are thinking, did Mr. Serrano leave? Yes, he did leave Perry, but none of you in this room are probably going to hear from him, but he is in charge of our discipline for the district, so he does K-12 discipline. And like I said, none of you are probably going to hear from him at all. So, but he is here supporting the district at a higher level in a different way. And so just wanted to make sure we cleared that up. Also, there'll be a site celebration, and Mrs. Patterson is going to be, and her husband Jason is here today, so I want to make sure we acknowledge that too. He just lost his wife to the high school now. And so he's, although she's always been very active there, I know when I've been on campus, his whole team is always active on that campus. Is that there'll be a little celebration at the site, I believe. Is that correct, Ms. Patterson? Okay, fantastic. So more information will go about that to honor Dan at the site. Thank you.
Great. Our next portion of our agenda is our citizens' comments, and I believe that Mr. Terry Locke, we have reopened, is going to present. We have reopened our public comments online, and he has some comments for us on the online comments.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, and Superintendent Narducci. As a courtesy to our public, we reopened our electronic citizens comment option to allow our community to express opinions on any topic, whether or not as an action item for the governing board. We heard from 58 people this week. Our feedback centered on 4 topics. 1, COVID dashboard, calling for daily updates, which we've implemented since. Health and safety, mask mitigation strategies, largely mixed opinions about mask usage. 3 is a curriculum, modes of instruction, including weighing in on CRT. Governing board communications is the 4th category. As you will note, feedback sometimes falls into multiple areas, so you can see some feedback listed more than one location. Submitting comments.
Could you move closer to the microphone?
sorry, yeah. That better?
Difficulty. That's better, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. As you will note, feedback sometimes falls into multiple areas, and we list it under more than one category from time to time. Submitting comments electronically provides our governing board members time to read and prepare prior to the meeting. This format also provides the board an opportunity to ask clarifying questions to the administration. You have the submissions verbatim for your consideration. They are also available on the website for public review.
Thank you, Mr. Locke. So now is the time for the public to comment. And just as a reminder, the members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to review the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. We request that our speakers go up to the microphone over by the entry door to speak. This evening, we have 26 speakers, and so you will be limited to 1 minute. The monitor will time 1 minute, and Dr. Nance will give you a 30-second warning. So our first speaker is Diane Lundahl.
Good evening, governing board members and community. I'm here as a teacher and parent at Hamilton High School. And I request that we revisit the current mitigation plan because honestly, it was written for a virus that we are no longer fighting. This is a different virus. Ms. Bruner was asking if we could get any feedback from teachers. And our principal had the foresight to ask for feedback from our teachers 3 weeks ago. 84 teachers responded. And he forwarded that to Mr. Narducci, which I hope will forward it to the governing board members. In essence, Hamilton cannot continue these mitigation plans. 3 feet distancing is impossible with 35 desks in a classroom. 5 minutes to disinfect is impossible. Contact tracing is not being kept up. We have 20 to 30 a day, people not being contacted because admin is overwhelmed. The health office is overwhelmed. Kids are sick going from period to period because we have to call and wait till there's room. That means that they're spreading the virus when they're not well, if they have the virus. If not, they're spreading whatever they have.
Time has expired.
Students are not masking, and that is the truth. Thank you for your time.
Keegan Conrad.
Good evening, governing board members. My name is Keegan Conrad, and I came here today as a former student of CUSD, as well as now a social studies teacher for Arizona College Prep Middle School, and a proud member of being a site representative for the Chandler Education Association. After finishing the last academic year, my fellow colleagues and I were hopeful that this year would begin in this post-pandemic scenario. However, that is unfortunately not the case. Since the beginning of the year, we have begun to see and witness an increase in COVID cases throughout the state. Recently, the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics stated that they recommended mandating mask wearing for K through 12, vaccinated or not. And unfortunately, we're starting to see the consequences of not looking into this for the mitigation strategies. We're seeing Ash Fork School District in Yavapai County had to close after 10 days as a result of that. This puts, unfortunately, when it comes to this, not mandating masks, students, parents, educators in an unstable situation.
Time has expired.
Thank you very much. Leslie Falloon? Falcon, I'm sorry.
My name is Leslie Falcon. I'm an eye doctor, a Chandler business owner, and a concerned parent of twin 9-year-olds. If you ask my kids what my job is, they'll tell you that I play with flashlights and do math all day. The data, or the math, if you will, is very clear. The transmissibility value, thank you, of Delta is too high to be overcome with vaccination alone without masks. Our K through 6 students are not yet eligible for the vaccine. When we entrust you with our children, you have a fiduciary responsibility to ensure their health and their welfare. Your current policies are doing
30
neither.
seconds.
We had 2 positives in our classroom this week by Tuesday. If you leave policy as it is, our district will lose students and funding. For K through 6, there's a viable third option. You can direct each school to have at least 1 fully masked classroom per grade level. This allows all of us to have the choice of meaningful in-person education. Period. The freedom of it.
Thank you. And I'm sorry I got your name wrong.
It's an easy one, too.
Well, G came down and made it look like an O, so, from above. Kurt Roars.
Hello, my name is Kurt Roars. I'm a parent in this district. We reviewed the district communications staff regarding the new Arizona statute which prohibits the presentation of racially divisive materials in public schools, such as CRT-type doctrine. We appreciate the district taking this decisive step. We also understand that the next step is for the governing board to implement effective policy that sincerely complies with the law. However, there's a deep concern the district administration and governing board will have no effective way of enforcing this statute. It is becoming apparent they have very little idea
30
what
seconds.
is actually presented in the classrooms on a daily basis. There are activist staff in the district who are determined to be defiant and disruptive and will continue to push these divisive concepts forward to our children. We believe it will fall to parents to enforce both district policy and state statute by collecting evidence needed to expose these teachers and administrators. We will then expect the district administration to take firm disciplinary action. Thank you.
Thank you. Talitha Baker of Phoenix.
Hi, I know many of you because I'm an alumni from Hamilton and Shumway and Willis. I'm here to advocate for masks in our schools. My nieces in Queen Creek immediately caught COVID after 1.5 weeks back in school. It has been a nightmare. You think you know what it's going to feel like, but you have no idea what it's going to feel like until your loved one gets sick with COVID. If the issue is money, I'm here to tell you that a Gallup poll of 2/3 of Americans supports mask mandates in school. For every parent you lose who may be upset about a mask, you're going to gain 2. You can be the first district in the East Valley to stand up and actually tell parents that kids will be safe in your schools. Last week, children's hospitals saw a record for COVID cases being admitted, and this is happening in Arizona too. And there are 8 school districts in the state that have done this. You can do this. There's the precedence has already been set, so be brave and protect children so that people like my nieces don't get this.
Thank you. Joseph Wong Gilbert.
All right, good evening. My name is Dr. Wong. Nice to meet all of you. I have 2 kids in the Chandler School District currently. One is age 8 and the other one is age 6. We already have 2 cases in the age 6 classroom. With all due respect, your mitigation strategy is meaningless without a mask mandate. Out of the 20 or so kids in each of the classes of my kids, less than 5 people are masking. As parents, as neighbors, as people in this school district, we have an obligation to protect our children.
30 seconds.
I'm appalled and furious with the inaction of the board in this district to mandate masks in our school children. The vaccine for children is anticipated to come out in the next 3 to 4 months. I implore the board to take action and mandate masks until the vaccine is approved.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. Jeremy Wilson of Chandler.
I heard all I needed to know in the study session. I know what you guys are going to try to do. What happened to personal choice? My wife and I should be making these medical decisions for our kids. Studies have already shown all these masks that you guys are wearing, if it's not an N95 mask, the particles are so small, they get through the masks anyway. There's no point. What about the social development that is being hindered by wearing the masks? Also, the depression and mental anxiety that has been created as well. If a parent wants their kid to wear a mask, then they have that right. But it's my right to make that decision for my child. I do not care what this board mandates, if it mandates masks or not. I will be sending my child to school unmasked regardless, and you will teach her because that's your job. She will not be masked again. It is illegal, and your fear does not trump my child's freedom. If our former president can go have a unmasked party with hundreds of people, then our children can go and learn without a mask. Secondly, knowing our kids' COVID status is a violation of HIPAA, so I will not be disclosing that to the school district, as well as you will never have the right to test.
Thank you. please refrain from clapping or having other approval or disapproval type actions because it delays, and I would really like to be able to announce the next person. Uni Vatican, am I pronouncing that right? Uni? Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Uni, and I'm a parent of Hamilton High School senior. So my couple of questions are, the most authentic body on human health or public health are CDC and American Academy of Pediatrics. Both recommend masking for teachers, staff, and students indoor. So what is the reasoning behind? Where do we get information that is based on saying that masking is not needed or not recommended or not mandated? What is the basis for that? They are the most body with the most experts looking at masking, difficulties, etc., etc. And a couple of other points also. So we have a quarantine measure that is 15 minutes. If you are close by 3 feet, then it needs to be quarantined. But in public school buses, I don't see that. So that's completely contradicting exactly same process. And so I got an email from Hamilton principal when the COVID cases rise over there, and they have a lot of restrictions on how.
Time has expired.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Jacqueline Carter of Chandler.
Good evening to the board, Madam President. My name is Dr. Jacqueline Carter, and I come before you as a doctor and as a parent to a Santana Elementary child. I'm asking you to join Phoenix Union District as well as several others, including now ASU and NAU, to require masks in school. As a pediatrician, I have seen how COVID has affected our kids and young adults. They're already starting to fill up our ERs and our PICUs. Adults and other teens have the ability and the choice to be vaccinated. Our children do not. Our children are innocent.
30 seconds.
They do not have the opportunity to ask or require or have the ability to make that choice. So we're asking you to help protect them and make that choice. With the new Delta variant, the virus is more contagious than the original. Things that we had set up for our previous year are not going to be as effective. Masking is safe, it's simple, it's effective. You as the board have the power to protect our children, our
Time
teachers,
has expired.
and
Thank you.
we ask you to do that. Thank you.
Next, Nicole Eidson. Did I pronounce the last name right?
Yes,
okay.
you did. Thank you. Hello? Okay. The school board derives their power from the Arizona Constitution. If you read the Constitution, which you swore to uphold when you took your oath, then you would know that everything written is law that pertains to persons of government. Any statute that's created which contradicts that which is written in the Constitution is null and void. Common law has been used for decades to keep the persons of government in check and will enable us to get back our freedoms and liberties. Per common law, we have sent you a notice telling you that we understand
30 seconds.
what your rights are and remind you that we know what our rights are. Per common law, we have sent you affidavits requesting you tell us where in the Constitution it gives you the authority to force harmful teachings on our students. Since you didn't respond to the affidavit to the people, me, as requested per common law, then that is admitting that you are in agreement with the statements contained in the affidavit. As we proceed to the next step to regain the people's power.
Time has expired.
Thank you. Mayor, can't read the last name, starts with a J and then an A.
Hi, my name is Mayur Jain, and I'm a parent of 2 kids, elementary school going kids in our gifted schools in Arizona. And I'm here to ask you to provide hybrid education again, just like last year, so my kids can attend school online, taught by the gifted teachers, and not lose their spots in their gifted schools. As you have mentioned, there are lots of benefits of having fewer kids on the campus. You can enforce more social distancing and things like that. So I think it's a good idea to bring hybrid education back
30 seconds.
until our kids can get fully vaccinated. Thank you.
Thank you. PJ, LIK, HMAI. Would you say it, please? I'm
I'll let you
sorry.
try, Madam President. Good evening. First of all, I would like to applaud Frank. I know you have one of the very difficult job, and a lot of parents are animated, have a strong opinions, but you have kept your calm in responding to us. So thank you so much for doing that. I'm an engineer by profession, by my education, and data scientist to be specific. I'll have to respectfully tell you that the dashboard, the data we are talking about, it's more of arts than a science. I still appreciate what you're doing. It's very valuable.
30 seconds.
With Links doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Here are the facts. Our state has twice the number of COVID cases now than exactly the same date last year. We have this variant has much higher mortality rate than any other case before. 50% of the sick from this variant are kids. Again, 50% of people sick are kids. I implore you to start the virtual learning immediately. If you need help from citizen, I'm engineer. Ask for the help. I'll build that.
Expired.
Thank you. Adshiha? Najaratan? I'm butchering this one.
It's not an easy one. Thank you so much for your time and consideration this evening. My name is Aja Najafian. I'm a graduate of CUSD and proudly participated on this very board as the student body president of Hamilton High School many, many, many years ago. As the daughter of a CUSD educator at Hill Learning Academy and the aunt of a New Hamilton student, I ask you to adhere to the guidance of national health officials and reinforce the mask mandate, which proved successful last year against transmission. Hamilton and so many other schools are already over the 1%, which we saw,
30 seconds.
but are currently limited in what they can do to protect students and staff. I ask you to please enable and support schools to enforce the masks in addition to social distancing. Please be a district that leads according to facts and data, not arbitrary or misinformed philosophies that don't align with the safety of our community. It's time to re-engage informed logic that promotes the care and safety of so many that make up the CUSD community. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie Nash.
I'd like to start by welcoming home all the amazing new hires to CUSD. CEA is elated that so many new staff have chosen CUSD as their home. We hope that they will choose to be a member of CEA, their professional association. We provide advocacy, professional development, and most importantly, a united voice for better working conditions for staff and better learning conditions for students both statewide and at the local level. We had hoped this year would be different from last year. However, as we see numbers rising, we need to do what is safest for our staff and students. We appreciate the increased mitigation measures, but stronger mitigation is needed. Public health and safety should never have become political, yet here we are. So we call on CUSD to push the governor to make decisions based on data, not dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlotte Goya?
First, thank you for keeping our children in school for the majority of last year. Other children have not been so lucky. The purpose of the school district is to provide a free and appropriate education to our children. Let me say that again. It's to provide an education for our children. As test scores are showing, the best place for a child to learn is in the classroom. And the best classroom environment is one where a child feels comfortable. The COVID crisis has been raging for a year and a half. We can stand here and present study after contradictory study regarding the efficacy of masking, of vaccinations, and of social distancing. And to what end? No one will agree. Confirmation bias will abound, and more vitriol will be spewed. It is time for some common sense to take hold. Let our children come to school how they feel comfortable, be that masked or unmasked. Let them learn. Take fear out of the equation, because what we should be most fearful of is a woefully undereducated population.
Thank you. Please, thank you. Lindsay Olivares.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Lindsay Oliveris. I am a parent of a third grader at CTA Goodman. I am here fighting for her health and safety. I am a former education attorney. I no longer practice, but I used to represent school districts. So I understand the untenable position that our state legislature and governor have put you in. But I'm not here as an attorney. I'm here as a parent. And I am asking you as a parent to be brave. My 8-year-old is one of a handful of children in her classroom that wears a mask. There are over 20 students in her classroom. She's surrounded by unmasked faces, children and people who refute scientific facts. The facts those parents are ignoring are: Maricopa County is in a high transmission state. CTA Goodman has more COVID cases than any other elementary school in the district. There are not enough vaccinated adults in Arizona for us to have reached herd immunity. There are either no or a small handful of children 12 or older at Goodman who can be vaccinated, and I am asking you to institute a mask.
Expired. Thank you. Kim Robinson.
Thank you and good evening. I had something written, but all I keep hearing is vaccine, vaccine, vaccine. People with vaccine are still spreading this. People with vaccines are still getting this. So I don't understand the point of you trying to force a vaccine on people that don't want one. There are students walking around our school districts that don't have all the vaccines that every other kid has. I also want to remind the board, I know people are saying, be brave, mask the kids up. It's against the law for you to mask my child.
30 seconds.
My child will not come to school masked, even if you mandate it, because it's the law. And there will be a lawsuit, which I've already emailed you all about, and again, you ignored except for Frank. Thank you. I also want to remind you all that the CDC just recalled the rapid PCR test because they cannot distinguish between the influenza and COVID. So if you can't distinguish, why are we making decisions based on a faulty test that they're giving until December for someone to come up with a new one? Thank you.
Diane Stako? Diane?
Hi. So I'm here to fight for my kid as well. He's a senior, and I just pulled this study just to read it. It's a myth that masks prevent viruses from spreading. The overall evidence is clear. Standard cloth and surgical masks offer next to no protection against virus-sized particles or small aerosols. The size of virus particles is much too small to be stopped by surgical mask cloth or bandana.
30 seconds.
Wearing a mask to prevent catching SARS-CoV or similar size influenza is like throwing sand at a chain link fence. It doesn't work. There's been one large randomized controlled trial that specifically examined whether masks protect the wearers from the coronavirus. The study found mask wearing did not reduce any conventional levels of statistical significance, the incidence of SARS-CoV infection, and no pool testing for me. So,
time has
Thank
expired.
you. Patty Serrano? Patty Serrano? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were leaving.
And I'm short. Good evening. 2021 in the era of COVID and the Delta variant is in fact different. More is now known. This time we have actual evidence and guidelines we cannot turn our backs on. The Delta variant is quickly spreading, and we are experiencing a remarkable surge in infections that include an increase in pediatric hospitalizations. We cannot simply say we are a safe and productive environment in our mission statement if we do not responsibly take action on public health guidelines meant to protect our children and community.
30 seconds.
We must immediately act to follow CDC guidelines and enforce masks in our schools. I am here on a weekday night between 2 jobs, homework, and dinner to ask you to please do right by each of us. We are scared. Alongside many others in our community, as a parent to an ACP URI student, I urge our board to direct the superintendent to follow the CDC guidelines and implement an improved COVID-19 mitigation plan. We must think of our community as a whole and utilize all possible tools and expert guidelines
Time has
to
expired.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Lindley Hansen.
Hello. Thank you. I just wanted to state rules for our kids: 3 feet social distancing, large group gatherings held outdoors instead of indoors, no dances or functions inside. My son plays in the band, he has to play outside, at least last year he did. Following arrows, masks, contact tracing, limited sports capacity, field trip restriction, restrict parent visits, and volunteering at the school. What are the rules for our ex-president of the United States, Barack Hussein Obama, for his birthday party? None of the above. None of the above. That should end it right there. Rules for thee, but not for me.
Thank you. Aslan McEnany, Chandler, from Chandler.
Hello, my name's Aslan, and the first thing I'd like to mention is what I've seen so far. With masks, I see kids who prefer to wear them and kids who don't. During the time that we've been forced to wear them, I've seen aggression and hate towards other students. I have not seen kindness in any way. I've seen hostility, any adjective you can name. I have gotten into more arguments with class members, and
30 seconds.
It's ruining the entire school experience. Kids go to school to learn, not to be criticized. It should be our right and choice to wear a mask. We should not be forced to wear these things. I would also like to thank all the brave people coming out here to speak for our freedoms in these last few seconds I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gina Wayne of Chandler.
Hello, thank you for hearing us all. I just want to start by saying we already went down this road in the past, whatever it's been, 18 months. We've already forced masks for the children, and it didn't really do anything. I'm really hoping that we can seriously think about it and kind of use common sense. It's a virus. We can't spread it from wearing a mask. We can't keep it from spreading. We cannot keep it from spreading by wearing a mask. That's like saying, no one's going to get the cold if we all wear a mask. It's not possible.
30 seconds.
We're all going to get it. 99% of people who get this virus recover. It's not like a death sentence. And I think we should leave it up to each family member to decide what's best for them. It is our right to breathe oxygen. We're not supposed to be breathing carbon dioxide and bacteria. It's not good for us. It's not good for the kids' mental health. It's not good for them physically or mentally. It's not good. Let everybody make their own choice, please. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Phil Bond?
Bone. We know that Arizona is second in deaths behind Texas in children deaths. We know these numbers are going to get worse, undeniable. It is up to you to decide if it is a few more deaths or dozens or more children deaths. You can require all CUSD students to wear masks without any retribution today because the no mask law doesn't take effect until the end of September. 7 other school districts have done this. I have a 3rd and 4th grader at CUSD schools. Please do something to help keep them safe. Institute a mask requirement for all students. Unlike COVID, masks have never killed anyone. Oh, and critical race theory is only taught in college. Let our teachers teach history as they wish. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Stapley of Mesa?
Hi, my name is Linda Stapley, and I'm a retired English teacher. I taught all of my years at Mesa High School, and usually there's a connection to Mesa High School somewhere. Now I substitute full-time. I was at Red Mountain High School today, but I'm with high school kids. Those are the older ones. And I don't think this issue is about the board being brave. I think the issue is about liberty and freedom, and what I see with the kids all day, every day. That we need to be free to make our choices, and we need to teach that by what we do and the role model that we set. If the kids choose to wear a mask, and I had ones in the classroom today that did, and I'm very supportive of them. I would never ridicule, I don't, but I would never ridicule them or say anything. But they need to, if the masks work, think about this, if the masks work, then you don't need to be afraid of me or the other children. I don't call them children, but they are. You don't need to be afraid. If they don't work, then maybe you should be afraid.
Time has expired.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bonnie Tiley, Tempe. Bonnie?
Hello, my name is Bonnie Tiley. I am a parent of a kindergartner at Anderson Elementary. Governor Ducey signed into law that Arizona does not allow mask mandates, vaccine mandates, vaccine passports, or discrimination in schools based on who or who is not vaccinated. It is also a violation of HIPAA to know a vaccine status. Masks should be a personal choice, and we should be in charge of our medical decisions for our children, no one else, and not forced into vaccinations. Thank you.
Thank you. James T. Harris of Scottsdale.
It's obvious we're living in a divided country. You can look at this room, you see people who are masked, you see people who are unmasked. But the Founding Fathers gave us the Bill of Rights for this very moment. We have unelected bureaucrats telling us that we need to mask up, that we need to change our behavior in order for the greater good. But freedom means that we have individual rights. We can exercise them as we will. This room is a microcosm of how things should be in a school. We have board members that are masked, we have board members that are not masked. It should be an individual choice. What we're doing is we're turning the social contract upside down. All this tension that the young lady was talking about in school is because of decisions that adults have made. We need to act like adults. We need to understand that the legislature and the governor signed a bill into law that says you cannot mandate masking. End of question. You have a problem with that? Get rid of the legislature, get rid of the governor, but we need to teach our kids to follow the law. God bless America.
Thank you. That is the last of our citizens' comments. I do appreciate hearing from everyone. I know all of our staff and board members also appreciate hearing your comments and concerns. So thank you very much. We will now move on to our consent agenda.
Madam President, I have a question real quick.
Yes.
So I just realized there's an item that I would like to ask a question, so I'm not sure how do I do that.
Is this on the consent agenda?
Yes.
Is it a very easy question?
I think it is.
Oh, go ahead, ask Mr. Narducci or.
I guess, Lana, you're going to have to help me with this. I noticed it has 10-year for the banking services. I didn't know you could go 10 years.
You can. If you ask the board for permission to do that, you can.
When
Yes.
was that passed? Was that fairly new?
It passed actually the last time we did it also, so it's been in effect for quite a while. And Frank is out of the room, but he could probably tell you the exact date it came into play.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Narducci.
Madam President, members of the board, our first consent agenda item is out-of-state student travel, pre-planning. Out-of-state field trip pre-planning forms for ACP High School, Basha High School, Camille Castile High School, and Perry High School are provided. Following governing board pre-approval, the superintendent designee, which is Dr. Gilbert, and myself, will monitor trip arrangements before providing final approval. The governing board will receive a summary of the final travel arrangements quarterly. It's important to note that we also require mitigation to be reviewed prior to these trips being reviewed. And then this gives Dr. Gilbert the opportunity to move forward with his schools and planning once you approve. Monetary gifts. Request approval for the monetary gifts generously donated to Chandler schools totaling $35,857.04. Under donations, request approval of the items generously donated to Chandler Schools totaling $15,381.44. Under central kitchen high-low equipment maintenance and repair, proposals were issued to 68 vendors with 2 responses to high-low temperature equipment maintenance and repair. Request approval to enter a 1-year contract with Biacy and Tech 24 that expires on June 30th, 2022, with up to 4 additional 1-year renewal options. The estimated 21-22 expenditure will be $400,000 for contract number 19-22-26. High-low temp equipment maintenance and repair. Equipment is about 400 pieces of equipment, and they're utilized in kitchens, which consist of walk-reach-in coolers, walk-reach-in freezers, milk coolers, ice machines, commercial convection ovens, combination ovens, warmer carts, commercial microwave, steam tables, and serving line equipment. Request approval. Participation agreement with Public Consulting Group for Medicaid services. The CUSD Medicaid program has generated approximately $1.9 million annually over the last 3 years. The district must utilize a third-party administrator, or TPA, to process claims and issue reimbursements. Public Consulting Group, PCG, will continue in fiscal year 2022 as the third-party administrator for the Arizona State Medicaid Agency, or ACCESS. Medicaid School-Based Claiming Program. ACCESS has total authority in awarding this contract. Therefore, Public Consulting Group is the sole source vendor. There is no other option. The term of this agreement shall be in effect on and after August 26th, 2021. We recommend participation with Public Consulting Group as the third-party administrator for the Arizona State Medicaid Agency ACCESS Medicaid School-Based Claiming Program for fiscal year 2022. An estimate of annual direct service claiming fees to be paid to Public Consulting Group for fiscal year 2022 is $130,000 and $45,000 in Medicaid administrative claiming fees for fiscal year 2021. Under banking services, which Mr. Worth asked about earlier, CUSD Banking Services contract expires on June 30th, 2022. This contract was originally procured in 2012. Per procurement guidelines, if a contract is going to exceed 5 years, board approval must be requested prior to the solicitation. The district will be going out for an RFP, which is a request for proposal this year, but asking for board approval in advance. Request board approval to exceed the 5-year contract with a 10-year contract for banking services to be solicited in the 21-22 school year to replace RFP number 08-13 banking services. The next item is Kyrene Print Shop. Request board approval for the IGA with Kyrene School District's Print Shop. And then we have the diploma seals. The Arizona State Board of Education has approved 4 diploma seals that recognize high school students who achieve proficiency in the fine arts, civic literacy, world language, and personal finance. Students who are recognized with a seal on their diploma and a notation on their transcripts. The first 2 seals are administered by the Arizona Department of Education's Office of Social Studies Education, and those include the State Seal of Civic Literacy and the State Seal of Personal Finance. A third seal is administered by Arizona Department of Education's Office of Arts Education, and that is the Seal of Arts Proficiency. The application process requires documentation that the LEA governing board has approved participation in the State Seal Arts Proficiency programs. Request board approval for participation of all 4 SEAL programs, which our seal of biliteracy is widely used by our students, and they are very successful in getting that, and it does lead to a future pathway in college and career. Approval of automotive technologies curriculum, automotive technologies career, and technical education, which is our CTE program. The last CUSD automotive technologies adoption was in 2007. The Arizona Department of Education technical standards in automotive technology have since been updated. The adoption has been reviewed and evaluated. All textbooks submitted by the publishers and we are recommending the following textbooks to move on in the textbook adoption process. That is the Automotive Technologies 1, 2, and 3, and then Modern Automotive Technology 10th edition by Goodhart and Wilcox. The curriculum will include printed student textbook, online learning suite 6-year license, printed instructor's edition, and online instructor resources. The cost of the curriculum is $33,449.14, including tax and shipping, and will be funded through the district textbook budget. In accordance with ARS 15-721, the curriculum was placed on display for a 60-day public view period for comment at the Melinda Romero Instructional Resource Center starting June 10th, 2021. There were no comments. U.S. Academic Decathlon and the U.S. Academic Pentathlon digital and printed materials. The Chandler Unified School District has a long history of secondary school participation in U.S. Academic Decathlon and U.S. Academic Pentathlon, experiencing success at both the state and national levels. Resources for these two programs are available in both print and digital formats. Approval to purchase these materials in either a both format from the United States Pentathlon Association and United States Academic Decathlon Association is requested. You approved one format earlier this year, and we need to approve both formats to have that move forward, and so we can order. My Math Spanish Materials by McGraw-Hill and Mis Matemáticas. On March 16th, 2016, the governing board approved a mathematics adoption that included My Math consumable materials, intervention materials, and digital licenses and teacher resources from McGraw-Hill. Mis Matemáticas Spanish resources are the equivalent of the My Math resources and will be used in the dual language immersion DLI Spanish programs. The cost is $8,000.76. We're requesting board approval to utilize the McGraw-Hill, Mis Matemáticas materials, and digital resources for use in DLI programs. Under Human Resources, request approval for employment, separation, compensation, our transportation's referral program to attract employees, which are very hard to do right now, and a list of our qualified evaluators for our teachers.
Thank you, Mr. Narducci. Could I please get a motion from a board member to approve the consent agenda?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. The motion carries unanimously. Now we'll move on to our action items. We previously went through number 7.01, which named the Perry High School Gymnasium after Mr. Serrano. Next, we have some cafeteria table replacements. And let me see, I have to look at my, Mrs. Berry.
Madam President, members of the board, tonight we're requesting the board approve the purchase of the attached list of items in the amount of $344,165.01, including tax, freight, and installation. This is just the replacement of existing tables, and some are additional tables at some of our campuses to meet the mitigation strategy. So it's both replacement and additions at some of our schools.
Thank you. Could I please get a motion to approve the purchase of the food and nutrition furniture and equipment?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, are there any questions for Mrs. Berry?
I did have a couple questions.
Yes, Ms. Love.
So I just wanted to know, how often do we have to replace cafeteria tables, especially since it looks like a great deal of them are outside? Is there anything that we have to do to protect or preserve these tables from any inclement weather throughout the years?
So, Madam President, thanks for, Madam President and Mrs. Lev. There are a number of tables that we are replacing due to age, but there isn't a requirement that says after so many years you have to replace them. But as they become damaged, we want to make sure that's a safety feature first for students using those tables, cafeteria tables, but also replacing them to meet the needs, the seating arrangements, the needs to maximize as high schools get bigger or elementaries, again, to meet the mitigation plans in some of the schools so that we can seat them so far apart to meet those mitigation plans. So it's a combination. We do try to protect them, but we do have outdoor spacing. We have great weather. We have great weather in the at certain points that people like to access outside, so we try to maximize space out there too. So we try to protect the best possible, but not all situations is everything covered. So sometimes the sun is on some of our tables.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Okay, we'll move through this. All those in favor of purchasing the attached list of items for the food and nutrition, furniture, and equipment, please say aye.
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 Mr. Worth?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Our next is to determine the district representative for the delegate assembly. I guess that's my action item. And for consideration and possible action to appoint a delegate and alternate to represent Chandler Unified School District as the district delegate to the Arizona School Boards Association Delegate Assembly on September 11th, 2021. I believe that is a Saturday, is that correct? Yes, it's a Saturday. So it's not a work day for people. This also occurs on the Saturday following the Arizona School Boards Association Law Conference. Is anybody attending the law conference this year?
I'm thinking about my options, but I'm trying to see like what they're doing around COVID.
I heard that it's all in person.
Okay.
I asked that same question as to whether, because I was having a little mobility issues. Anyway, so it would require, do we have any volunteers that would be willing to be the delegate to vote on the business that comes in for the, comes before the delegate group?
I can volunteer if I'm going to be the only one who attends, possibly.
Apparently, there's no programming though on the law conference for Saturday.
Okay.
So it will take.
Oh, okay.
It will be an extra trip for anybody who, and it will be an in-person event. Is anybody available on that day?
Do we have to send somebody?
I guess, do we? If we want to vote, we do. And what the delegate would be voting on is the next agenda item, which is listed, which is their political agenda, and any other business that might come before the delegate assembly. But usually it's pretty much just, I believe, the political agenda. But if we don't have anyone who is willing to go, yeah, we just get one vote. So.
Barb, I know that last year I think you did it, but are you saying that you can't do it this year because of the mobility issues?
Yeah, I haven't been, a lot of these things require so much walking. I'm having some difficulty right now, so.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, if nobody else wants to, I guess I can volunteer.
All right. Do I have a nomination for Ms. Love to be our delegate?
Madam President, I would like to nominate Ms. Love to be our delegate.
Is there
Second.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor of Ms. Love, representing Chandler Unified School District at the Delegate Assembly on September 11th, please say aye.
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 Thank you, Ms. Love, for volunteering. So now we get, since we do have a delegate, we do have to look at how we would like to direct you to vote for the district. And that is our political agenda. The ASBA has put up a proposed 2022 political action agenda, and we should discuss and consider action to approve the Arizona School Boards Association draft political agenda and direct Lindsay to represent the board's determined position. So we also have a listing that our district came up with attached on the agenda item that is some recommendations that we had to include in that political agenda. But I guess, has everyone been able to look over the proposed political agenda, and do you have any, do we have a motion on that? I know I have a couple of issues with it, so, with their political agenda.
I'll move to get it on. So moved.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, let's go ahead and, I guess I'll start with this. As I was looking over the political agenda, I find it kind of unusual that ASBA is going to be promoting affordable teacher housing. I don't see this as very student-oriented, and personally, I don't think district resources should be spent for affordable teachers' housing when we have enough budget issues, and I'm not sure that I would want to support that particular provision in the political agenda. Any other comments?
I guess I don't agree, Barb, but the current law allows for a teacherage, and then they have to pay, hopefully it's a less of a rent. And in our community now, with the way prices are going, I think something's going to have to be done in the future to provide some affordable housing for our teachers. So my hang up with this is there's so many items on here that it's a joke, and they do this every year. I wish they would just put 2 or 3 items in and concentrate on passing those. So I don't know. I'm just not happy with their whole agenda, to be honest with you.
Well, my understanding is they usually don't get anything they put on the agenda anyway, right?
So I sat in on the meetings of the past 2 years, and it is a pretty long process, like all day. And I think a lot of these, like, they don't expect, especially with our current legislature, to even pass. So, but I mean, it is like a collaboration of like all the district representatives from across the valley, including like rural districts and things like that. And the teacher housing thing did come up as a bit of kind of like an equity issue in terms of having teachers who live in the communities that they serve, right? And understanding that population better. But yeah, I mean, there were a lot of things that came out because, we're talking about districts that look very different than Chandler that made sense for those districts that may not always make sense for ours.
And would this be typically for rural areas? Has it typically been enacted in rural areas or is this something that isn't even on the books yet as statute, that any district is allowed to assist with providing affordable housing?
Madam President, if I can add a little bit, I've been talking to superintendents across the state on this issue, and there are strategies for teacher recruitment, and some districts aren't as blessed as Chandler of being able to attract highly qualified teachers. And I think this is looking at the state as a whole. Rural communities and some districts, they're just not getting the teacher applicants. And why? Because the cost of living is high. we all know that our teachers aren't making, the affordable wage if they're a single parent earner and raising a family. And so this strategy, many of the districts, many of the superintendents, and many of the boards are looking at as to, how can we have autonomy of attracting teachers to these locations and giving them the opportunity to have that affordable living within those communities. Some of the rural areas people may think are lower and less expensive, but there's higher costs, and they're finding that up in the northern ranges of that the teachers aren't going, and the cost of housing has gone through the roof. They can't build. I think one of the principals in one of the smaller districts is actually living out of his mobile trailer to be able to afford up there because he can't afford a space. And then also inner schools, city schools, as well as school districts are looking at and saying, how can we attract? Some are working with cities to see how they can also assist with their employee base too, because they're having a hard time recruiting as well in key positions. So it is something that statewide that's being looked at for the ability to retain and attract teachers. And it's not saying build houses for everybody, but it's for those that you might be able to be able to provide that need for at the time.
Okay. Yeah, that was the exact conversation that was had during the meeting. Yeah.
I appreciate hearing some clarification and rationale behind that. I guess the other question that I had on this was right on the second to last page, the top line. Does anyone have any insight on that one?
Just so I'm in the right place, tell me what it is.
Second to last page, the top line in red, right above the manage the COVID or impact of COVID. Starts with oppose any measure.
I don't see any problem with that.
I don't either.
Okay.
Yeah, as I recall the discussion around it, it was one that everybody mutually kind of agreed to in terms of making sure that our voters are able to have access to vote, especially in we're talking about, I think it was specifically vouchers came up, if I recall, on that. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't have a problem with it, and I think it came up because it was pretty timely.
Okay. All right.
As I look at this, it's just a political view, which I get and I understand. I just wish the school board association might pick out 2 or 3 items that we could actually pass through the legislature and make something happen and concentrate those efforts on that. And they consistently don't do that, and therefore, as a lobbying group, they're not very effective.
Good point. I mean, I think I've been around long enough to see how few of the items on their political agenda were even were achieved partially. So, all right. So if there's no other questions or comments, all those in favor of approving the political agenda and directing Ms. Love to vote for that, please say aye.
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 All right. And thank you, Ms. Love, for volunteering. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, and a double mask and go.
And of course, we do expect a report when you come back.
I will have that for you.
Thank you. Our next item is our student activity report. Mrs. Berry.
Madam President, members of the board, the student activities reports for the month ending July 2021 are provided for your review.
Oops. Any questions, comments? Not too much on there this time. All right. Policy and regulation revisions. I guess this is a joint one from Mrs. Berry and Mr. Rother. Who goes first? Mrs. Berry.
I'll handle that. Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, the Arizona School Boards Association, ASBA, has recommended changes to the following policies. DIE, audits and financial monitoring. So the change to that was that House Bill 2018 pertaining to audits and financial records prescribes a requirement for school district governing boards or charter school governing boards to publicly accept all audits and compliance questionnaires by roll call vote. So in the past, you voted as a group. Now it will be by name, by roll call. The language is added to ARS 15-914 and policy DIE. The next policy is EEAEA, bus driver requirements, trainings, and responsibilities. So it's just, again, an update to this policy. House Bill 2159 amended ARS 283228 relating to bus drivers for school bus driver applicants, requiring all school bus driver applicants to possess a commercial driver's license issued by the Department of Public Safety or an acceptable alternative as described in the statute. The reason for that is there are school districts, like a district I was at previously, that borders another state, for example, into Utah or into New Mexico. And sometimes those drivers come across that line, and so they might have a CDL license from New Mexico, but they're driving the school bus in Arizona, or they live in Utah and they drive the bus in Arizona. So it gives you both abilities. Anyways, doesn't impact us. We're not on a boundary of a state, but it is an update to that policy. So Chandler Unified School District recommends adopting the policies as approved by ASBA. These changes are presented as information, and approval will be requested at the August 25th board meeting. Additionally, Regulation ACAAR is presented as information because the name of the Title IX coordinator is changed to Larry Rother. Regulations and exhibits do not require board approval.
So
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Berry?
Yes.
When I look at the audit, what happens if there's a no vote? What does that mean?
So if no one votes, I think you'd have to bring it back.
Let's say 3 people vote no. They won't approve it.
You'd probably have to bring it back the next board meeting and have your auditors come in and understand what they wanted changed in the audit to see if it'd even be able to be changed and then to get approved. Yes.
What a waste.
All right. And then who is responsible for making sure that that roll call vote is done? Is it the president, or how do we make sure that this routinely will be put on the agenda as a roll call vote?
Mrs. Nye and myself will work through that, and then it'll be just like when we're calling, for example, for an override election, and we call and we ask you for that piece.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now we have our...
I've got
yes.
another question, if I could. The Title IX coordinator change, that's not to the whole policy, that's just a coordinator?
That's correct.
Okay.
And Larry, would you like to respond?
No, that's correct. We're just changing the name on it, okay.
Lana, you're doing so good with that.
All right. Our board agenda roadmap. Our next meeting is August 25th. And also, we believe there is an East Valley School Boards East Valley School Boards Consortium meeting for our new board members. This is something that was pretty much canceled over the last year and a half due to COVID, but it is where some of the East Valley School Boards get together in an evening at one of the host schools. This time it'll be in Mesa. And they usually have some speakers talking about some basically current events that impact school districts. Please let Mrs. Nye know if you are planning on going to that, and she will make reservations for you. And let them know, because they do need a count of individuals who are going. Mr. Narducci, do you have some comments for us this evening?
Before we get off the roadmap, we will be adding on there our demographer's report and trying to get that in here early in September for the board as well. So now I notice that'll be placed on there. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I do have just a few comments. I want to thank all of our families for choosing Chandler Unified School District. Our enrollment is up more than 600 students since the end of the 2021 school year. And it now is pushing the 45,000 students across our 46 schools. As schools of choice, we know that we provide many options for parents. One of those strong options is a very viable online option too, through Elementary Connect and through COA. Elementary Connect is a highly synchronous environment for our families, 100% online. It's approved through the AOI, through the state as a delivery model. Districts have to have that approval. Dr. Gilbert and I worked on that many years ago and have that option for families. Right now, about 400 elementary families are choosing that option. And Dr. Gilbert, would you say how many in the high schools are choosing part-time or full-time?
You have about 400 full-time and almost 1,000 part-time.
Yeah, so that has grown in the full-time enrollments, but they've always had high part-time enrollments where students are picking up different classes and credits through the online. Also, I just wanted to, we had a lot of feedback on the online, and Mr. Pack at the COA, the high school, the secondary version, has done a lot of changes to make staff more accessible, to also engage students in some learning, and I believe there is more teacher contact with students and availability for students, and that was one of the requests we had in that program. So thank you, Dr. Gilbert, for moving that forward. The Chandler Unified School District has received funding from our Elementary Secondary School Emergency Act, which is ESSER 3, and it's an emergency fund that is allocated to school districts to address the impact of COVID-19 and unfinished learning. We call unfinished learning and we call it learning loss. We like to refer to here as unfinished learning because this may have affected all of our students, not just at all the spectrums of learning. So we want to make sure that those funds are spent wisely. On August 30th from 6 o'clock to 7 p.m., CUSD will host a virtual community roundtable to gather input and to guide our ESSER 3 plan. During this roundtable, you'll have the opportunity to review the CUSD priorities and feedback. CUSD values the voice of our community, and we encourage you to join us. Parents have received an email with an invitation to participate. If you didn't get that email, or you just thought that email was junk mail, you can call our community relations office at 812-7650, and they can provide you with the registration information and the link for that. It will be virtual, and then we're looking forward to that input. Right after that, we will be providing the same opportunity for our staff, and we'll be seeking input from them through a survey as well. Parents will also note that we have been facilitating a 2-question broadband and connectivity survey through the email. Many of you might have received this 4 or 5 times, some households 6 times. That's why it's just very important. And what this does is it allows us to prepare our students to become future ready and to access technology. This grant money would provide the district the opportunity for students and families that qualify and need to have technology services and access in your homes to be able to get that. And so this is an initiative that will help us and help our families. So I would love for our families to respond. There's no information that we are keeping there. It's just going to be able to, for us to be able to utilize $400 to collect, to be able to purchase devices for our kids to utilize at home and in school. I would like to publicly acknowledge again Dan Serrano. Until this school year, Mr. Serrano was the only principal at Perry High School. Mrs. Patterson has taken over this year. He made an impact on so many young people during his time as principal. Mr. Serrano has been very humble about the board's gesture to name Perry High School gym in his honor, and I know it because his office is right by mine, and which makes this tribute so well-deserved for Dan, his family, and the entire Puma Nation. Finally, I'm sad to report that Terry Saba, one of our former board members, has passed away. Terry was the first female board member in CUSD history and served from 1969 to 1978. The governing board named the theater at Basha High School in her honor, and we offer our deepest condolences to the Saba family. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Narducci. Are there any comments from board members this evening?
I have one.
Yes, Mr. Worth.
At the previous board meeting, I quoted the prohibited instruction statute that the penalties were paid by staff. That was in error. Penalties are paid for the district, and I do apologize for that miscommunication. So thank you, and luckily some people out there in the audience helped remind me of that.
Thank you, Mr. Worth. Are there any other comments? Mrs. Bruner?
All right,
Oh, okay.
She wants
Mr.
to go later. I was going to tell you guys that I did get to go to the meet the teacher night at Perry High School, where my kids go. There was about a third of the amount of people that are normally there for the meet the teacher, meet the parent night, probably because of COVID concerns and everything. A couple of things that I learned there. The one comment that the teachers gave me is they really liked having the seniors. I guess the seniors took their final exams a little bit early because of COVID. Is that right, Frank? Yes. Yeah, they said that solved some problems other than COVID. That they said that solved some problems. So that was a good idea that we may think about keeping. And I talked to every teacher that would all of my kids' teachers and every other person that would talk to me. I think I talked to 9 or 10 people, and I talked about the current stuff that we're all talking about in the citizen comments, and the teachers are just as divided and have just as wide an array of opinions as the public and the parents do. So there's nobody that's apoplectic about having to teach the kids that aren't wearing masks. The teachers that are wearing masks, they say that they've had their shots. They're just wearing masks to protect the kids. So that was kind of nice. But that was my comments.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Ms. Love next. Do you have anything, Ms. Love?
Not this evening, no.
Thank you. Mrs. Bruner?
So it's been a while since we were here, because in July we only have one meeting, I think. So I just wanted to mention a few schools that I had the opportunity to visit. And I wanted to thank the administration and the staff members. So many folks working so hard and so excited to start a new school year. So the teachers and other staff at Hartford, Knox, Tarwater, Conley, Fry, Anderson Elementary, Basha Elementary, Jacobson, Hancock, and ACP Erie. Thanks for letting me come and hear what everyone's thinking, what's working, what's not working, and I just really appreciate all that those folks are doing.
Thank you. I was just going to say that I've gotten a few emails thanking us for the new ACP high school campus, and that they really think it's fantastic. So I can't wait to actually be able to walk a little better and get out there and and visit the new facility. I do believe, when will we be having a dedication for that, Mr. Narducci?
It looks like we're going to be in October, and they're coming up with the date. And and I have to give credit to the ACP faculty and Mr. Bickus. I'm moving into any new high school. It's kind of like who moved my cheese, and you expect things to be automatically there, and they're not. And he has been so accommodating with staff and working with our team and Mr. Fletcher's team and our contractors, as much of the campus is about ready to finish up too. Mr. Fletcher, do you have an update on just a few? I know this is a part of their show, but can you give us a little update on where we are with the building? And before we start that, though, also working with the neighborhood, whenever our neighbors, and one of the things that we did when we built that school is try to be good neighbors and include as much input. And Mr. Bickus has been at meetings, given his personal cell phone out to be able to monitor volumes of things. And he's just gone the extra mile to be able to make sure we're good neighbors in that community. Mr. Fletcher, can you just give just a brief update on the building?
Yes, sir, Mr. Narducci. Madam President, members of the board, we are in the 95% completion area. If you recall, originally we weren't going to get the Building A, which is your main gym, aux gym, wrestling room, weight room, locker rooms, until the September, October area, and the Performing Arts Center until December. We are ahead of schedule in those areas. Unfortunately, we're a little behind in some supplies. So Building A, which is your main gym, again, aux gym, wrestling room, weight room, and locker rooms, we should have a certificate of occupancy by the end of this week. All the weight standards are in, although we are expecting delivery of the actual weights in the very near future. They were working on completing the wrestling room this week. Main gym is done, aux gym is done. We are waiting on a back order of wireless access points. Building B, which is one of your academic buildings, complete. Building C, your administration is complete. Building D, which is your other academic building, is complete. Building E, which is your performing arts center, the main house has been punch listed. We're finishing up some things, but waiting on some access points. The classrooms that are in the rear of the performing arts center are all up and running. Let's see, D, E, F, your food court is complete and operational. And then your field houses are all up and operational, although we are having some issues with some HVAC, some air conditioning. As you all know, when we load a school for the first time after it's been balanced and we put all those bodies in there, we have temperatures going way too hot, way too cold, up, down, here, there, everywhere. But overall, all the athletic fields are up and running. The rain certainly helped us, but also hindered us in some ways as far as allowing them to be on the athletic fields. But other than that, my team should be out of there mid-September completely. And then we'll get ready for the governor's visit and the opening ceremony, I guess.
Wonderful. Thank you. As I say, I appreciate it.
In the mic. Who's the mic?
No,
Oh, the mic.
yeah.
Yeah, put the mic on.
How many fields are not in the retention area?
The only field that is, well, there's 2 fields in the retention area. One that is north of the facility that's used for PE, and then the main practice field is a retention basin. All the others are above grade.
So I noticed that they couldn't practice football. So where do they go when that happens?
They went to the JV baseball outfield.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other comments, this meeting is adjourned, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.